Wednesday, April 22nd, 2020, MONERO 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. So the central bankers' planned shutdown of the world economy continues, and they're even calling for more restrictions, for more extended shutdowns or lockdowns, whatever you want to call it. They're showing their true colors, that they're behind this. And yeah, it's not politicians or governments behind this. Many of you need to wake up that there's no such thing as representative democracy. As Mayor Amschel Rothschild said many years ago in the 19th century, he said, give me control of the country's money supply or of a nation's money supply, and I care not who makes the laws or the rules, right? And I'm going to show you today with proof how these central bankers are in control, and they're calling for even more draconian rules to restrict people's personal liberties everywhere around the world, to make sure that people cannot earn a living. And why are they doing this? Well, I think it's because they need to reset their system. They created a monster of a system that became unsustainable. And what do I mean by that? Well, after the '08 crisis, they bailed everyone out. They indebted nations to the trillions in order to save their friends on Wall Street and the City of London and the big corporations as well, and the governments. And they had to continue doing that. They kept rates at zero or negative. They've kept printing money. They've kept bailing out Wall Street through the repo bailouts that started last September. So yeah, they couldn't have people living normally while they're doing this. And it's one of the reasons, in my opinion, that we are being kept at home under house arrest. So let's have a look at what these central bankers are saying. I'm going to start with the Bank of England governor, the new governor. I think he came into office on March 17th. He used to be the head of the FCA, which is the equivalent of the SEC in the US. He did a really horrific job. People lost billions of pounds in the last few years investing in funds that were supposed to be regulated by this guy, Andrew Bailey. And I saw this yesterday in the Daily Mail online. It was the big story late last night. It says, Bank of England boss Andrew Bailey warns against easing social too early and says the psychological effects of a false start that forces Britons back into lockdown could damage the economy more. This guy is really something, I would say. Bank chief backs lockdown. There you go. That's the Bank of England boss. Now I want to go back to March 22nd, which is quite a while ago now, exactly 2 months. This is from CNBC.com. I know the mainstream media is not media. They are propaganda, but we need to look at what they're saying through their propaganda arms, right? CNBC, CNN, Bloomberg, the BBC. These are not news organizations. They're propaganda organizations. They come out with what they're told to say by the central bankers. The article says, Fed's Bullard. He's the president of the St. Louis Fed. Coronavirus shutdown is not a recession, but an investment in survival. There you go. Double speak. But the interesting thing about this article about 2 months ago is what he said at the end here. As to the other 2 trillion, Bullard said the federal government should borrow and distribute it to people and business. What would I say about that? Taking money or credit notes from governments. I would say if you don't have to, if you're a business that doesn't have to, a business that can survive while in shutdown, if you're an individual or a family that can survive without help in a shutdown, I would stay away from the central bankers' help. We don't want to be dependent on them. This is a trap. It's a trap. You should never take help from central bankers or government. That's the way I was brought up. My father always said, money doesn't grow on trees. You have to earn it. Yeah, you have to save for a rainy day. So, yeah, of course, there are millions out there who are in dire straits. I've seen videos in the US, people queuing up for hundreds of yards to get free food. I cannot really help those people, unfortunately, and they're going to be trapped in this central bankers' debt, slavery, dependency paradigm. So let's continue. And this is a quote, continuing quotes from Bullard. That is completely feasible in service of limiting economic damage, he said. And this is the part that really showed me that this is just a planned event. And this is him saying this. He says, this is a planned, organized, partial shutdown of the US economy. We're throttling back output on purpose to meet health guidelines. Transfer income to affected households. So more, how can I say, collectivism, more socialism, transferring income, right? Call it pandemic relief, Bullard said. Get transfers to businesses that are affected heavily and come out on the other side. Identical economy, yeah, right. Produce the same goods as before. So there you go, it is planned. This is Bullard from the St. Louis Fed saying this, not me. So, and now we go to more recently, I think it's April 12th. And this is from the president, well, they call him president and CEO of the Federal Reserve Bank of Minneapolis. You can see it's not a government institution. It's got a president and CEO. It's a private corporation. Wake up, everyone. All the assets on the Fed's balance sheet are owned by these regional banks that are private corporations. As you can see here, and I'll put a link below to this page, Federal Reserve page in the description, and you can see that all the assets that they're buying as private corporations. This is not to help the American public or anyone else, but the big Wall Street banks and the other banks that own the other Federal Reserve regional banks. The transcript, Neel Kashkari on Face the Nation on April 12, 2020. It says the following is a transcript of an interview with Neel Kashkari, the president and CEO of the Federal Reserve Bank of Minneapolis, that aired Sunday, April 12th on Face the Nation. I'm not going to go through the whole interview. He did it with Margaret Brennan. I'll go to the end, which is the important part. So at the end, this is what Kashkari says. I'm focusing on 18 months because we're looking around the world as they relax the economic controls. The virus flares back up again. Convenient for him, isn't it? And that makes intuitive sense because so many people have the disease. How does he know that? He's a central banker. Well, and I would say, by the way, he used to work for Goldman Sachs as well. But they don't show any symptoms. Yeah, it's very convenient, right? To say that billions of people have a disease, but yeah, you don't have any proof of it. So you don't know who's spreading the disease and who isn't. So we could have these waves of flare-ups, controls, flare-ups and controls until we actually get a therapy or a vaccine. I wonder if he knows Bill Gates. I think we should be all focusing on an 18-month strategy for our healthcare system and our economy. So it's all planned. Bullard said it was planned, and Kashkari now is saying that it's going to take 18 months. So I'm trying to warn people out there, this is not going to kickstart again anytime soon. So be prepared. financially, health-wise, mentally, for a very long shutdown, unless people wake up. Who knows? If it ends up being shorter than that, that's great. We should prepare for the worst case scenario. So I'm sure it's not going to be shorter than that. I would add that it's probably going to be even longer than 18 months. And why do I say that? Well, I remember when this crisis started kicking off around the time that Bullard made his comment a couple of months ago. I saw some headlines in the media or in the newspapers online here in the UK, some advisor or some, I don't know, observer saying that this is going to be like a world war. This is like war. And I always remember reading about World War I and watching movies. The talk when the war broke out in the summer of 1914 was that it was going to be over by Christmas 1914. And look how long that war lasted, 4 years. So, and I'm not going to go into World War I, but I think it's a similar kind of event. And you might ask, what do you mean? Well, do your research. I don't have time for that here right now. So there you go. It's not going to end anytime soon. And with that, I'll come to the markets now. We saw yesterday crude oil, not the front month, but the June month collapse as well. I think we traded 50% lower towards $10 a barrel. Right now we're at 12.31. Treasury yields sunk even further. The 10-year right now is at 58 basis points. The 30 years at 116. Yeah, this is all signs that this shutdown is going to continue. The economy is going to come to a halt. It's going to implode. So I think the other asset markets, like the stock market, corporate bond markets, high yield corporate bonds or junk bonds, they're going to be next. Oil price and bond yields are pointing to that. Don't be fooled by dead cat bounces, I would say. So right now it's 10 to 9 a.m. London. We saw yesterday the Dow continue to go lower. It dropped over 600 points. So that's 1,000 points in 2 days. We're now at 23,000. Well, we were last night when the markets closed in New York. Right now, the Dow futures is up 260 points or just over 1%. But I don't have any investments in the stock market. But if I did, I'd be trying to get out as quickly as possible and getting into physical precious metals. Why physical precious metals? Well, because gold is the money of king, silver is the money of gentlemen, right? Barter is the money of peasants, and paper, what paper or Federal Reserve notes, that's the money of slaves. That's what I mean by being out of the system. Unless you want to finance your servitude, stay in the paper markets, I would say. So yeah, the stock markets have rebounded. I think this is temporary. We're going to go a lot lower going forward in the next 12 to 18 months. You heard what Kashkari and Bailey from the Bank of England are saying. It's going to go on for a lot longer than people think. They keep finding excuses, right? What about the precious metals? They got hit hard yesterday, of course. The paper market, of course. But I still look at the bullion dealers online here in the UK. Many of them don't have any precious metals. They're not operating. Still really hard to get the real thing. So be as it may, let's look at these supposed prices of gold and silver. We've got spot gold at 1693. So I think yesterday we got back into the 1650s. And look how quickly it's rebounded. We just got up to 1700 overnight as well. So yeah, we're up 7 now at 1694. Silver is finding it a little harder to rebound. It's still below 15. It's at 1687, unchanged. What about gold and British pounds. Let's have a look for my UK viewers. Yeah, we're at 1373.50, so almost at the all-time highs, which is, I think, just above 1390 or thereabouts. I think it's only a matter of time until we're above 1400. And good luck trying to find gold at around 1400. I think it's going to be more like 15 or 1600 if you want to find real gold in the UK for the ounce. So yeah, the stock market, I went over it already. The fiat currencies, the pound has rebounded a little bit. Today is up 1/3% at 123.40. Euros unchanged, 108.64. The dollar is down slightly versus the yen at 107.60. The June crude oil contract is up 1% or 13 cents. I mean, 13 cents now is 1%, so it sounds like a lot. Well, it's up 1%, but yeah, it's at $12.10. It's crazy, and so there you go. I have to admit, it's getting frustrating, even though I'm in a good situation. My family and I, we can survive through this financially. We don't have any debt. My videos are doing well. I'm getting more views, more subscribers, but I don't like to see what's going on, and I think it's going to affect everyone. Don't be fooled that just because you're doing well and you don't have a problem with surviving a shutdown, that it's going to get better, that things are going to be the same as they were before. I think they have a hidden agenda with this crisis. And I'm beginning to become more and more certain of this because of their actions, the delays. And the main objective, I think, is just to reset the whole system, bail out their friends, and keep people at home while they do that. So there you go. That's my 2 cents for the day. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you hit the like button, share it far and wide. Think about subscribing to the channel if you haven't yet. And you can also follow me on Twitter, Facebook, BitChute, Steemit, and DTube. I wish you all a great day. Take care. Bye.